Welcome back from break, everybody. We are ready to start the next bank of talks. And first up, we have Stacey Mulcahy talking about hardware for the soft world, JavaScript and devices.
Yay! Thanks. Oh yeah, I love clapping. It's so weird. Clapping's like the best thing known to mankind. Womankind, peoplekind, whatever kind. All right, let's get this started. Very happy to be here. I'm going to probably walk you through just a couple of things that I've been working on in the last little bit to get you maybe thinking about IoT and thinking about hardware. And so when we think about IoT, we often think the most vaguest term known to mankind, right? IoT. It's like saying basically in any of your OkCupid profiles that I like stuff, right? It's so vague. But, you know, there are some kind of tenements around it. When we think about IoT, we often think about useless devices doing useless things that offer no value to us, right? And that's because we're pushing technology and trying to figure out where it goes. But, you know, there is a lot more to IoT and a lot more to leveraging your JavaScript skills. I posted this on Twitter and someone actually said, you know what? I need to know when my cat goes to the bathroom because it's sick and I have to tell my vet. So I gave him the parts list and I told him how to make it, and next thing you know, in a couple of days he had this like automated, I don't know, data on his cat litter. You too can do that. So when I think about IoT, I like to borrow a phrase from my good buddy Seb out of the UK. You can check his stuff. He does creative.js, amazingly talented developer, and the way that he describes it is stuff and things that talk to the interwebs, right? So stuff and things. We all like stuff and things. We all have it. Maybe we have an armband. Maybe we have something at home that's, you know, the Nest or whatnot. And the idea that there's connectivity there. And so things, all the things, give me all the things. I want to connect all these things. I want to connect them somehow, whether it's Wi-Fi through another device, whether it's Bluetooth, whatever. And I want to save data. And the most important part that a lot of people are missing is that we want to analyze that data. You can save all the data that you want. It's like looking at my inbox. I have tons of emails. But when you start to analyze those things, that's where you start to get the value out of stuff. That's where you start to do predictive analytics. That's where you can start to see patterns. That's where big companies, oh, you should get that. That's when you see big companies, I can get it for you. You start to see big companies are really into this because it means that if they can just predict what's going to happen, maybe a breakdown in some of their mechanics or anything along those lines, if they can get 1%, just 1% of efficiency, we love that word, right? Like bingo word right there, efficiency. Your product manager loves you right now. They save millions of dollars, right? So this is an enterprise kind of landscape. This is why it's such a big deal. It's all about the bottom line, right? But I'm not going to talk about that because we know that the internet is just a series of tubes, right? And so when I talk about hardware, I want to say that for some of you who might not have gotten into hardware, maybe there's a fear, maybe you haven't seen a practical use. For me, I know it was a fear. I thought, oh no, I'm dealing with an electrical outlet. I'm going to burn off my eyebrows. You know, I'm going to set something on fire. There's not an insurance policy that can cover me. You know, I'm never going to do something as dumb as this, right? And so I think that's the main thing when you step into hardware is to think, you know what? It's very, very forgiving in the same way that software can be very forgiving, almost too forgiving. And one of my buddies who's a big hardware electrical guy said to me, well, I'm really scared of software because I can just erase my hard drive with one line of code if I don't know what I'm doing. And that same fear from software kind of comes into hardware. And so when we start talking about getting into IoT and getting into this landscape, we talk about devices. Devices are all around us right now. How many people have an Arduino sitting at home that's gathering dust and you have no idea what to do with it, right? It's funny because it's true, right? So Arduino is one of those things. It's meant for designers, open source hardware, you know, open source platform. You can make your own Arduino for probably about $8. You can go buy the chip, you can buy the capacitor, everything you need to do and put it together. It's a really good starting place to get started in terms of this landscape. Now, if you're looking at it from a JavaScript perspective, looking at working with something like Arduino, we naturally just go to Node, right? Because we are able to use libraries, whether it's Johnny 5 or Cylon, or even serial port to connect to the Arduino. And the beauty of the Arduino is it allows you to capture what's happening in the physical world and control what's happening in the physical world. As JavaScript developers, you guys are in a very, very awesome position to leverage your skills and not have to learn too much more to create really compelling experiences for people. And so we can look at something like the Raspberry Pi. Who has a Raspberry Pi? Right? I have a kit to give away at the end. Ideally, I'd like to give it to someone who has not touched it at all. Raspberry Pi, self-contained computer, running Linux. You can also run Windows IoT Core on it. It's 40 bucks. You can do everything from use it to a file server, to create a MAME cabinet, to send it up into space to take photos, right? It's really revolutionized what we're doing and how we're doing things in this space. We look at something like the Tesla. This is just made. The whole JavaScript is basically made for Tesla. They thought about JavaScript developers. They embraced JavaScript as part of their platform. It's another option for you to get started. Intel Edison. Intel got on board. They did the Galileo. Now they have a smaller format. That little card right there, that's the Edison. It's like the size of a really obese SD card, right? Something that went to the buffet a couple times. So, yeah, I said that. So, that's the breakout board for it, but again, the Edison, very powerful, lots of RAM. You can start to write all of your programs, whether you want to do, Python or C# or JavaScript or any of that kind of stuff. You can start to leverage all these things. Photon, this is one of my favorite. Has anyone heard of the Photon? Yes. I would give you a hug, but that would be awkward. So, the Photon, 20 bucks, Wi-Fi enabled. Okay, made by an awesome company called Particle. I love them to death. They have the best support. And this, for 20 bucks, inherently, you can write with Node. You basically program it like a little Arduino, and all of a sudden, in 20 bucks in your pocket, you have all sorts of opportunities for you, leveraging everything that you know. They have a Node module that you can use, an SDK, all sorts of stuff. You can do it from the command line. You can do it from the web-based browser. I should go work for them, right? You got the Teensy. Teensy is really small. It's a small form factor. It's not Wi-Fi enabled. It's really good for those kind of like cosplay projects or your Halloween projects that you might be doing. I know there's some of you in here who do that. All right? And really good, 8 bucks. If you don't know what you're doing and you're scared to spend some money and you don't need Wi-Fi or connectivity, you just want to play, 8 bucks. Okay, we also have an Arduino. If you're a .NET person, we have the whole kind of .NET stack for you in an Arduino as well. Again, same form factors. You got GPIOs, so input and output pins, all the rest of it. So what I'm going to talk to you about a little bit is, okay, gave you a sense of what you can do or devices to use. I'm going to show you some stuff that I've built in the last little bit, because I would love nothing more than to see some of you go out, pick up a device, or pick up a device you already have, and just rethink a project, right? And so I like to build stuff that's very useless. Not gonna lie. I have an idea in my head, I want to execute it. It often has no use. I like to say that's how innovation happens, right? Like it gets applied somehow, but we know that's not the truth. So I'm going to show you a couple of projects I've been working on to help explore, especially Node, working in any of these form factors. So my first one's called GridA Kit A. And I basically thought, instead of a mouse, what if I had a cat? Right? I'm going to replace the mouse with a cat. So I started looking up stuffed cats online. This is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down. All right? I found these weird figurines, and the weird thing about it, they look really realistic. They're made out of rabbit hair. I don't get it. Like, how many rabbits to make this little cat? A little creepy. But bought this cat, hauled it out from the inside, replaced the eyes with lasers, right? 2 little LEDs. And I decided if I pet the cat, I want it to act like a scroll, and if I tap it, I want it to act like a select, right? So I'm replacing the mouse. And so I asked a buddy, yeah, I did this. I asked a buddy a little bit more about like how could I do this, and he's really great with this kind of stuff. He's like, oh, use conductive thread. So I threaded it, we went through and threaded it. We replaced some LEDs. We ran a little Arduino teensy in there, connected through USB. And I built a Node app. It's a Node app that goes to Instagram, searches for Kitty, hashtags, also a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, and images you might not want to see. And you can scroll through them, and then if you tap it, it will select that image and save it to your Dropbox. All right? Because, I mean, come on, as cat people, isn't that what you want to do? So again, this was using Node and Node Express app. What I used here was something called SpaceCrew. Has anyone here heard of SpaceCrew at all? It's basically wraps socket I/O, and it's meant to connect various interactive spaces together. So if you're working on something where you want to use like a bracelet that's going to connect to your Unity app, or anything that supports sockets like Python or C# or any of that stuff, SpaceCrew really allows you to do it quite easily. And you spin up a server, and then you make these connections, and you kind of have like a client situation going on. It's really great if you're doing one-to-one. It's not great if you're doing like many-to-one, right? Like 100 of those things, not so good. So I'm going to show you my next one, which is Booty Bump. So has anyone had that moment as a developer where you write like 10 lines of code? Okay, no, let's be honest, like 50 lines of code, and it just works? And you go, oh, there's no way that works. And then you're like going through this whole emotional thing where you're like, I'm a golden god. This works. And then you're looking around to share it, and no one cares, right? And so it's like, you're like, I made this work. That feeling is so developer-centric, I wanted to capture it. I wasn't quite sure how to capture it. And so I worked at an agency called Big Spaceship, and I always sat beside designers, and you would say to the designer, oh, I just did this. And I'd be like, that's good. Right? And you'd be like, So you had to figure out a way to kind of celebrate that moment. And so I said to, at Big Spaceship, I said, can you give me a space to work in? I need like an innovation lab. So they said, sure, take the closet. So set up all the stuff that I wanted to. I brought in my friend who knew a lot more about electronics than I did, and we started running with relay switches, and we got two kind of disco lights running here on a Raspberry Pi. And the idea was that you would go up and you would booty bump, right, just to give you the sense of how that works, something that's installed on the wall, and you would have about 8 seconds of glory, right? Just like major laser dancing, whatever. And this was my idea, and so we started to build it out. I learned so much. I learned that I wasn't going to electrocute myself, but that it was possible. Used 2 sensors, and this is kind of our... right? This is our prototype, right? And this is Dave doing our prototype. Can't really hear me, but I'm laughing. But really I can't stop laughing laugh. And then I took it a step further. I thought, well, what if I just did the format out of myself? So I watch a lot of cupcake war shows, and they do these sculptures where they take, I don't know, pigeon wire or whatever you call it, and so I formed my body. And then I filled it with styrofoam, and then I put it in my jeans. Does that look accurate? I'm not sure. And we installed this in the shop, and so you could go up to this item and hit it. And again, this is just a prototype. I wasn't worried about how it looked too much. And we had people all day long doing it in the shop, and it lasted about 6 hours before they're like, take this out of here. You can't do this. But again, running a basic kind of Raspberry Pi, running Node on Raspberry Pi, leveraging everything there to get started. This is another one that's really interesting. Amazon hates me because I'm their use case for suggested or recommended products. They're just like, I don't know what to suggest her. This is messed. So my nephew really loves Dubstep, right? Everything is better if it's Dubstep. He's like, ooh, Elvis, Dubstep, so good. Right? And I don't understand Dubstep, as I'm sure most of you don't. This is what I think it is. And I started to think about, okay, Treeheart, and I started to think about what it looks like. And I was like, I want to build just need some glasses. And then I found a T-Rex online. It was a puppet. So I was like, oh, I got it. It's Squirrel T-Rex. That's hysterical. You know, me on a Friday night by myself ordering this. Like, insight into my life, everyone. Hello. And, you know, I basically modded it with the hair and the glasses. And I ran an Arduino into it, and I bought a little sensor. It cost about $7. It's a bendy sensor. It's an analog sensor. So it'll give you ranges between X to Y. And I put it in the mouth of the Squirrel T-Rex, and I figured out basically how to capture those values and send them over MIDI to Ableton so that I could dynamically drop bass, right? So I was like, what DJ wouldn't be like, yeah, I got a puppet here, what's up, right? And so this is how it ended up. Probably can't hear much of it, but I did a visualization and processing and brought this up. Let's take a second to, it's like, all right, dynamically dropping bass. And my work is like, that's really awesome, but why? I was like, I think you're phrasing that question wrong, why not? And it's funny, we put this project up, we had a little thing at work, I work for Microsoft. It was called like I Dev This, and they put it up, and it was like the #1 click tweet. Because everyone was like, Skill Tree Rex, Microsoft, what? Like, this is weird, click. And then they saw that. So of course work is like, this is awesome, but we'd love you to actually use something with our platform. So maybe you should do some work. And so one of the things with our platform, our cloud platforms, we support Node, Python, open source, very friendly. You can see I'm running on a Mac. And it's okay, I won't get fired, not right now, maybe later. And so, you know, I was like, okay, well, I'll just start working a little bit more in Node. And what I did is I picked up one of the Photon devices, and I built basically what I call Treeheart, and it's an LED light that reads a Twitter API, and based on any of the events from the streaming API, so unfollow, follow, like, all that kind of stuff, it will play different animations on these new pixels. And so, you know, I wrote a Node app, threw it up in our cloud, had it accessing the Photon using their SDK, and, you know, started to follow, start checking out, you know, who's following me, unfollowing me, that kind of thing in a more analog format. This is my really gross inside of it. Has anyone worked with NeoPixels before? Oh, man, do yourself a favor. I have resources at the end. If you want, so everyone likes the blinky blinky, right? Like we all love LEDs, whether or not we know it. And so these things are amazing. They're easily addressable, they're easy to use, you can get up and running in no time. And so I built basically this light, and again, I had to write some custom animations to fill it. When you put in the darkness, it's pretty nice. And when someone follows me, it just goes, you know, it's that sad moment. This got picked up by Adafruit and Hackaday. And then I had someone hit me up online. They're like, hey, like, I'm a real big fan of this hockey team. Could you make me a custom installation of this? And so I got paid. Yeah, girl got paid, right? To build something, which is like the most rewarding thing ever, because working with your hands is so different than looking at code every single day, right? And so, oh, stop video again in case you want it. So, just to give you kind of like a little oversight of some of the frameworks there that are available for you. Again, if you're working in Node, you can use to connect to any of these devices, you can use anything on serial port module. And there's a bunch of tutorials out there, I think I even have one, and it's really easy to get up and running. And I'll put stuff up in a GitHub in case you want like code that you can just copy and paste. So you can use, just right out of Node, you can use serial port, but there's also a bunch of different frameworks available for you. And you're starting to see this in the IoT space. So one is Cylon. And Cylon basically creates an abstract layer, like all frameworks do, right? They do the grunt work for you. And it allows you to kind of interact, especially with sensors, quite easily. So being able to toggle an LED, it's like a function they've written for you. They've taken some of the common things that you do again and again, moving a servo from side to side. Like they've went and abstracted all that stuff out for you. It's fairly easy to get up and running. It's a module you install. And again, usually what you need to know is what port you're running on. So when you plug in a device into your USB, for example, and you're working with it that way, it needs to know what port it's on. If you're on a Windows machine, you just go to your device manager, and if you're on a Mac, you can literally go into command and hit like ls/dev/tty, and it'll list whatever's being used. So Cylon's an option. A lot of people use Cylon. You'll see them at a lot of hackathons, a lot of maker spaces. Johnny 5. I've seen someone with a Johnny 5 shirt here. Where's that person? Yeah, right there up front. Look at this nerd. He's like, yeah! I say that with utmost respect. Johnny 5, really great library to get up and running. Again, it's not just about Arduino, it's about all sorts of devices. You'll see that what they've done is they abstract the device away from everything. And so that you can start to use your Intel Edison, you can start to use any of those devices that you might have or you choose to buy and use. So Johnny 5 is another option for you. I see your hand up, dude. I'm wrapping up. Okay? You have Node Red. It's more of a node-based thing. I haven't seen too many people use it. I played with it, and I went, meh, meh. You have DeviceJS. That's also meant for devices. It's something else to consider. The other one that I would suggest as an add-on is checking out SpaceCrew. It's honestly a really great library, and it allows you, it's really meant if you're going to do something like, I want my Python to connect over here to my Node app, to connect over here to whatever you might have running, or your Unity game. Like I built a DDR mat for a Unity game, for example, that way. Resources, real quickly. If you do not know these, get them in your head. Adafruit, awesome. Based out of Brooklyn, really quick to ship. They're awesome. SparkFun, make.com. If you know what you're doing and you don't mind looking at a website that looks like someone just put up an Excel sheet, DigiKey's your friend, okay? You have other resources for learning, whether it's Arduino or Hackster.io or Hackaday, and you can get started. Now, I'm going to leave it at that, but I have a kit to give away. So I'm here for a couple of hours today. My username is Bit2Codes. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. If you're on Twitter, tweet me sometime today or tweet about my presentation. We'll take all the tweets, we'll pick one random, and I'll make sure that you get it. It'll be at the Microsoft booth. I think that's all I have.